The best way to become successful is to intentionally live above your means. That's what a friend of mine told me recently. Naturally, my first reaction was, that sounds like terrible financial advice. But he explained. He said, when your rent is expensive, you work harder. When your business overhead costs are high, you push yourself. When your lifestyle demands more money than you are currently making, you have no choice but to level up. In other words, comfort breeds mediocrity. Pressure creates greatness. Welcome to episode 10 of Does It Make Sense? This is the show where we break down businesses, startup strategy, the psychology of money, operational excellence, and everything in between. And at the end of every episode, we will answer the one question every entrepreneur, investor, and decision maker eventually has to ask. Does it make sense? Today's episode is called the Lifestyle Pressure Principle. Can intentionally increasing the pressure in your lifestyle accelerate your success? Or is it a dangerous game to play? Let's find out. Now, I have to admit, as someone who naturally prefers to live within my means while striving for bigger goals, I didn't agree with him. But here's the interesting part. I've actually tried that philosophy before, and it worked out, or well, sort of. Not with an expensive car or a bigger house, but with this very show. So for almost 2 years, I had been thinking about starting this podcast. The idea was there, the vision was clear, but I kept postponing it. One of the excuses I gave myself was that I only had enough ideas for the first 2 episodes. I told myself I needed at least 20, maybe even 30 episode ideas before I could launch. So I waited and waited. I told myself I'll start next month. I just need to prepare a little more. There are still a few things I need to figure out. Maybe you've said something similar about a goal you've been putting off. Then one day, I decided enough was enough. I paid for the website hosting. Then I bought the studio equipment that I had kept sitting in my bookmarks for months. Then I also got a space to do my recordings. So I have a family. I didn't want my equipment to occupy space at home. The microphone, the lights, the stands, everything. The moment I spent that money, the pressure was on. Now I had skin in the game. I had invested in this idea. There was no point owning studio equipment if I wasn't going to use it. So I started. 1 episode became 2. 2 episodes became 5. 5 episodes became 10. And here we are. Episode 10. So yes, I understand exactly what my friend was trying to say. Sometimes creating pressure is exactly what gets you moving. But here's where I think the philosophy starts to become dangerous. There's a difference between creating pressure and creating panic. Pressure can improve performance. Panic destroys judgment. The philosophy assumes that pressure automatically creates success, and I don't think that's true. I think pressure reveals what's already there. Think about it. If pressure alone created success, then everyone buried in debt would eventually become wealthy. Everyone struggling to pay rent would become an entrepreneur. Everyone living from salary to salary would eventually innovate their way to financial freedom. But that's not what we see. In fact, many people under extreme financial pressure make worse decisions. Not because they are lazy, not because they are unintelligent, but because survival mode changes the way we think. When you're constantly worried about how to pay next month's rent, it's difficult to think long term. Pressure can sharpen your focus, but too much pressure narrows your vision. There's a sweet spot. Too little pressure and you procrastinate. Too much pressure and you panic. So somewhere in the middle you perform at your best. And I think that's the lesson. Looking back, I don't think buying studio equipment made this podcast successful. What it did was remove my excuses. It forced me to honor a commitment that I had already made to myself. That is very different from deliberately creating a lifestyle that depends on money that you haven't earned. You don't need an expensive car to become ambitious. You don't need to rent a house that is giving you hypertension to become disciplined. You don't need to manufacture motivation. There are healthier ways to create pressure. Announce your launch date publicly. Accept a client's deadline. Pay for a course that you have been postponing. Commit resources to something meaningful. Tell people what you're building. Give yourself a reason not to quit. Those kinds of commitments create pressure as well, just without putting your financial future on the line. So, does the lifestyle pressure principle make sense? I think the answer is yes, but not in the way it's often presented. The real principle isn't that you should live above your means. It's that growth often requires pressure. The mistake is believing that financial pressure is the only way or even the best way to create it. The goal isn't to live beyond your means. The goal is to live beyond your comfort zone. Hear me again. The goal is to live beyond your comfort zone. Those are two very different things. One stretches you, the other can break you. And knowing the difference just might save you a lot of money, stress, and regret.